Hello there. To start off with, I've already voted by mail. If I, you know, thought that Kennedy could become president, he would be my number one choice. So I'm going to represent and wear my sweatshirt. But really, what I want to talk about today is I'm going to talk about. Okay, I'm going to start off by talking about this dude who I read this story this morning, and I had wondered if this guy was the same guy years ago who refused to bake the wedding cake for the gay couple. And I did find a story that said that he is the same guy. So this dude, Jack Phillips, who refused to, make a wedding cake for a gay couple, also refused in 2017 to bake a gender transition cake for a person who is transitioning. And regardless of the outcome, which was he was sued and won or something like that, he didn't, basically the law, whatever. Okay, my point is this. Here's my point. Do I think that any business should have to bake? I mean, I think that we have, as a business owner, you do have the right to refuse service to anyone. That's fine. I think that that's kind of a good thing to have in a free society. But also, I think that that's a very un-Jesus kind of thing to do at the same time. And I'm going to talk a little bit today. I'm going to kind of flow with it. I'm letting it all come intuitively. I'm going to talk a little bit about why I'm choosing to read the Bible. I'm going to talk about a few other things too. But let's start here. Okay, so I'm the type of person that wants to figure things out for myself. I don't like to just take orders. I don't like to just conform with society. Actually, here's one thing. So people find different things cringy and repulsive. For me, conforming, superficiality, adherence to dogmatic systems of belief, those are all false ways of being. Okay, so being willing to be authentic, and even sometimes if that means your vulnerabilities poke through, that is what I see as beautiful in life. The people who are doing the other stuff that I mentioned, I find it repulsive. I'm not saying that in a judgmental way, but just like I don't see that as truth kind of a way. And there's problems that come with it. Now on this channel, on this video, this is me sharing my perspective with you authentically. I'm not being authoritative, friends. Okay? You have every right to not listen to what I have to say. You have every right to click out of this video. So me sharing my perspective, sharing what I feel to be truth, is not authoritative. It's simply one viewpoint that you can listen to if it resonates with truth, and you can click out on and you can go find whatever else you want to watch. I'm going to try to be patient and tactful because, full disclosure, I'm kind of premenstrual and I'm kind of annoyed with people right now. So I'm trying to balance that out in this heart-centered space right now. I'm going to share a little story. No, I'm not going to share that story, but I am going to say this. So Jesus, what we know about Jesus as a human being, I want to read this because I want to see for myself what it says about Jesus in here. But from what I've seen elsewhere, it sounds like Jesus was talking about non-judgment, compassion, standing up for the poor and the oppressed, not hating people who are different and judging them and calling them satanic because they're part of the LGBT community. Guys, that's not a love-based way of being. People are wrapped up in dogmatic beliefs as if that's the truth. Okay? In here is where the real you resides. Outside of this neural network of belief systems that keeps us stuck in stupid patterns that are ruining this beautiful earth. I just cannot believe that people are getting, we are reaching this time, and I feel this very strongly on an inner level. Bashar calls it, channeled by Daryl Linkett, calls it the time of choosing. I'm going to get to like the end, I don't know. There's something in here about the Bible that I've heard about like a time where humanity changes into something else, okay? Well, the time of choosing sounds like the same thing. In the law of one, separating the wheat from the chaff, what do they call it? There's something in the law of one where they refer to this transition phase where humanity is splitting off into different directions. Dimensionally, we are splitting off into different groups, okay? So that's going to be based on, not based on your belief systems, not based on that, based on your energetic vibration, how much love you have inside of you. That's going to determine how this works. So people, there's a certain group of people, sounds like it's going to be a little bit small, that are separating into a reality, the age of Aquarius, that love-based reality, dimension, where it's peace on earth, heaven on earth. That's not based on, okay, I go to church and I read the Bible, but I'm a freaking jerk to people in my day-to-day life. That's not how it works. It's an energetic, vibrational experience. One thing I want to bring up is people are adhering too dogmatically to religion on a large scale level. And what's going to happen is if you're doing that and you're not also paying attention to the chakra systems, the meditation, the love, the now consciousness, the flow state, if you're not balancing it out with that, you're going to end up in that hatred group that thinks it's going on the pathway towards that happy, love-based heaven on earth reality, but it's going to shift into a reality that's going to have a big surprise waiting for them. And that's your choice. You get to choose. You get to do whatever you want with this information. Free will is the best gift God has given us. But don't say that you weren't warned. Okay? So now I'm going to get into the Bible. I'm reading this because what I do know, I feel pretty strongly, and I'm like part of the way through Exodus right now. So I'm pretty early on my journey reading this. But I want to read it for myself because I want to interpret it for myself. It's very obvious that we're talking, these religions and these authoritative figures within different branches of this Christian religion, and probably other ones too, this is interpretation. Different people are interpreting it. So just because somebody has a certain interpretation doesn't mean that that one interpretation is the correct interpretation. Do you see how it's possible to have many different interpretations of these different passages? So what the hell is going on here? I was reading, because I had watched this documentary a long time ago about the Bible and how nobody really knows who wrote it. But what seems most likely, pull your mind out of the dogma for a moment and into reality, fact-based reality. Did they have a printing press? Going back to the earliest known writings that have created what we now have as the Bible. No, they didn't. For a long time, there was no printing press. There was no internet where people could do what I'm doing now and post stuff online, where people can go back and say, oh, this is what they actually said. It's like one crazy, many years, scores and scores of of one crazy game of telephone. We know that it was written most likely and rewritten because we didn't have a printing press by the priest class. So we have a history, the last, 5,000 years, maybe it's a guess, 3,000 years, I don't know, of a patriarchy. Not a healthy thing. Balancing the feminine and the masculine energy is a blissful, peace-based society. Too much feminine energy is unbalanced. Too much masculine energy is unbalanced. We have a history of a patriarchy going on. So this book was most likely written by the priest class because most people couldn't read and write for a long time. So it was written by men in authoritative positions during a patriarchal time. So there's that. And then on top of that, as it's being rewritten, these people are putting their own little biases and interpretations into it. Guess who didn't write the Bible? It was Jesus. Jesus didn't write the Bible. It's believed. I've looked online and there's different interpretations of this, but it's believed that at the earliest, the first writings that would later be formed and morphed into what we have today. So that beginning, 50 years at the earliest after Jesus died, at a time where we didn't have recordings. It was word of mouth, and it was written down by people who could read and write, which most of the time was not the average person. So you have to think about that. It's people going off of memory 50 years after Jesus died at the earliest, and then a whole bunch of interpretation by men in authoritative positions. I have a deep respect and reverence for masculine energy, but there's been too much of it in recent history, and it needs to balance out. The wisdom of the feminine has as much importance as the patriarchal energy does. It's been out of balance. And that's what's going on with our modern version of Christianity. Now, I think that there's some really beautiful things in here. I had a few videos back, an amazing experience where how could I deny that that was God speaking to me? I asked God, there's a video, but basically the short story is, ask God, should I read the Bible? For the first time ever, I get this order, somebody orders a Bible, and I'm like, okay, there's my sign. So I go and buy it. And then after I buy it, I park, and this license plate next to me says Psalm 37. So I read the Psalm 37, and it's like one of the most beautiful pieces of writing loaded with wisdom. However, you could interpret that differently with a different neural network. You could have a different interpretation of it. So my point is there's too many people. This isn't what Christ said necessarily. This is an interpretation, and I'm gonna get to that part where he's not even in the Bible yet, at the part where I'm reading. The Dead Sea Scrolls are the closest written record that we have of what Jesus actually said. And the dude who found them was foolish, and he ripped some of them up, so he burned some of them. He didn't realize what he had stumbled across, so it's been pieced together. And so some of it's kind of like you have to kind of interpret. But what those words are pointing to is that Jesus was talking not about hatred of people who are gay. Now, I'm super excited to read this because I want to interpret those passages that people have used to hate on the LGBT community for myself and come to my own conclusion, because again, friends, it's all about interpretation of the words, and you also have to keep your logical mind in place here. Pull out of the dogma and remember how this came to be. Some people say, oh, well, it was God who flowed through those people. Well, with that same paradigm, every single book written was by God. Everything in existence is by God. Everything was created by God. But there's the folly of man within all of it, including this, my friends. Be careful with dogma. It is dangerous. It is pulling people away from that natural, love-based way of being within the heart chakra. That's where the seat of our soul is. It's intuition. It's not the thinking mind. You can use the thinking mind, but don't let the thinking mind run the show. And that's what's going on with all of these zealots who are taking interpretations of these Christian religions to hate and reject. And that's okay. You can do that, guys. But I am telling you, you are going to shift to a reality, to a version of Earth that is not desirable. A reality based on conflict, separation. Do you see how this works? It's energy. It's how much love. It's how much purity of heart you have within you. Rejecting somebody based on who their external identity is, do you think that that's a love-based way of being? If you do, then you are very confused, my friend. So one more thing I want to say before I end this video is it is very much the case. I can see it clear as day. There is a system of wealthy people in positions of power across the globe who have been implementing a system of control, the New World Order. These people that want globalist, a one world government based on control and surveillance of average people. We are already free-range slaves. If that continues, it's going to be like North Korea all across the planet. It is a dystopian nightmare. So there's a large percentage of people who are starting to see that. However, there's still a risk within that group of those of us who are seeing it. We have to unify in love and oneness to be the wheat separating from the chaff, transferring to that version of earth, that heaven-like version of earth. You can't do it by hating on other people, because you're not going to be a match to the energy. But what I kind of lost track here. So the wokeness, the people who aren't seeing through those globalist systems of control yet, first of all, don't hate them because they don't see it. That's so foolish. Fixing hatred with more hatred, that doesn't make any sense. So those people who aren't seeing it yet, don't hate them for it. Teach with love and kindness. And so the group of people who, a lot of them are like Christians, which I love Christ, the message of Christ. I'm going to read the book of the Essenes after I read the Bible, because I believe that Jesus was heavily influenced by the Essenes. Aaron Abke, check out his work. He was a pastor. I think he's brilliant. I'll put a link in the description. But do you see how the hatred of members of the LGBT community that's happening within the people who are aware of the globalists and the New World Order is going to be pushing some people away from that willingness to maybe see that perspective that this New World Order is being implemented? Because people who are preaching hatred but saying that it's Jesus-based are going to be repelling people who are living in a more love-based way but have not seen what the globalists are doing yet. And so you're promoting wokeism, guys. You're promoting it by being mean and unkind and judgmental. You're promoting it. Most people are not going to watch this because this doesn't get views. Being authentic doesn't get views most of the time in this world. Being mean and harsh and critical gets views. That's why those people have such big platforms. Sorry if it was a little harsh, but I just want you guys to understand. Feminine energy can be fierce. It can be a little bit intense to kind of shake people out of their awareness, out of their paradigms, their belief systems, their rigid belief structures, which are perpetuating hell on this earth. These dudes, like this baker in Colorado, Jack Phillips, who's refusing to bake, he thinks he's doing the work of the Lord and he can do that. I do think the businesses should have the right to do that, but I also think it's super rude and it's not a love-based. Jesus would give his shirt off of his back to the poorest person on the street. I guarantee you, the real Jesus, would give his shirt off his back to the transgender person who needed a shirt, to the gay person who needed shoes. That's what would happen. Not saying, you're gay, you're going to hell, I'm not making you a cake. It's outrageous. So I kind of feel like I've said everything I want to say on this video. Like I said, you have every right to disagree with me, but I'm going to continue to share how I see on this, even if people don't like it. I hope that you will choose a love-based way. I hope that you will... One more thing. So what's problematic? So there's aspects of the New Age movement that are like can get a little bit self-centered. Also, Christians do that too. I call them Sunday Christians. The people who go to church on Sunday and think that that's enough to be a good person, but then are treating people like crap and judging people left and right. You're not doing it the right way. There's a balance. The chakra system is real. It is a real system of energy centers that bridges. That's where the chi comes in, the God energy, the life force energy, bridges that unmanifest. I consider this the ultimate metaphor, the tree of life, bridges the unmanifested God energy into the physical world. That's where we are manifested from, those chakra systems. There is truth to that the mainstream, old school Christian way of being has pretty much disregarded. You need to merge these ideas together. There's value in all of that. So this heart chakra, I see a lot of Christians whose heart chakra is very closed. They're not living in that open, non-judgmental, loving way. Open your heart chakra. Everything needs to be in balance. So yeah, there's value in some of those New Age aspects, and there's value in the teachings of Jesus. So that's what I think on all of this. I hope you have an amazing day. And one thing that Aaron Abke said, so that I like to say now, is that the Essenes used to say, "Peace be with you," when they would say goodbye to people. So that's what I like to say now. Peace be with you. May love be with you. May God's love flow out of your heart space into this reality that needs love at this time, not more judgment and separation. Have an amazing day.